So, hello everyone. Today I'm presenting my research, Design for Social Innovation Impact, an exploration on design-led evaluation practice inside SMEs. So, a brief introduction of myself. I'm Beatriz Bonilla Berrocal. I'm a PhD candidate in design. I'm part of a Polymidasis Lab, which is the research lab on design and sustainability inside Politecnico di Milano. I'm also a teaching assistant at the design department of Politecnico di Milano at management department of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. I'm here for a visiting period inside LAICA and in Lancaster University. My supervisors from Politecnico di Milano are Analinda de Rosa and Valentina Uricchio. They are both professors and researchers on design. They are both part of Polymidasis Lab, and they are handling research projects in Europe across the topic of on foods and food sustainability and creative industries and how to apply design methods and participatory methods inside those industries. My supervisors here at Lancaster University are researchers Elizabeth Christou from Management Department and Pinar Saihan from Laika Department of Design Department. And here I'm presenting my research lab, which is Polymidasis Lab. As I was saying before, we work with the topic of design for social innovation and sustainability. We go deep on the topics of innovation and co-design processes for facilitating participatory approaches in design research with communities towards more sustainable livelihoods. Okay, sorry. Then, so far, we are present in 32 countries all over the world. We are conformed by more than 8,000 students, and we are developing more than 400 projects in terms of design and innovation, design for social innovation, sustainability, and environmental sustainability. So the origin of my PhD research is by the governmental call in Italy, which is Made in Italy, Circular and Sustainable, for the ones that know a little bit of Italy. Made in Italy sector is very important in terms of the craftsmanship and excellence of the products that they are dealing with. So because of that, our research lab, which is Polymidasis Lab, entered into this governmental call in order to develop another perspective on sustainability, which could be social sustainability and how to, this is the origin of my PhD, how design can lead to evaluation of design for social innovation initiatives inside small and medium enterprises, which is a topic that has not been explored from a design perspective. So a little bit of like the breaking down of the topics. Why design? Design in terms of business and innovation is gradually expanded their area of operation, and that has been recognized more and more as an innovation and competitiveness enhancer inside those environments. Why social innovation in small and medium enterprises? Because by doing so, by those initiatives, we are integrating economic, social, and cultural values into our strategies and initiatives in order to have a positive impact in society and even beyond. Then because of this, and sadly, from a design perspective, and sometimes even from other perspectives, other disciplines, there is a lack of understanding of what social innovation really is and why the initiatives related to social innovation are not really understand from a point of its multidimensionality. Usually, all the impact that we are looking at is merely in terms of economic impact, while the others, as important as social, is a little bit behind. Then, why to have a design-led evaluation? There's a need of creativity in evaluation practice, since most of the approaches from the evaluation are not coming from a creative or participatory approach, and rather they are staying more in something more fixed, not flexible enough to allow the people inside companies to really understand what evaluation is. Then the exploration into this topic needs to be enhanced, and also it could benefit from a design perspective approach. Then a little bit of the context, which is really big. I will be dividing it into 6 main topics, which is Italian SMEs and social innovation, then the social innovation measurement field overall, the design perspective on evaluation, Then the part that I'm happy to find here as well, the creative participatory evaluation, then the need for changing the terminology from a measurement to evaluation perspective, and then a little bit of made in Italy and social businesses. So first, in terms of Italian SMEs, there has been, as I was saying, a change in how innovation is perceived, and then more and more the enterprises are taking more care about like the emphasis that they are placing in terms of societal impact and what they are generating inside communities, and then how, especially in Italy, but I believe also in the UK, SMEs play a key role in driving economic growth and fostering innovation all over the countries. So since in Italy is a key factor for the innovation ecosystem, there is a need also for them to continue and monitor more and more the initiatives that they are placing towards the social innovation realm and the communities where they are working with. Then the social innovation measurement field in general, we can see that there's many instruments, many methodologies, many tools that has been understood and researched about in terms of quantifying what is really difficult to understand, like the social phenomena, and trying to convert them into something more quantified. But this is generally what the tools and assessment methods are looking for. And they are leaving behind and they are failing in representing the holistic aspect of social innovation. So, because it's really complex. And then, since also seeing a little bit of literature, measuring social impact was originated from a positive approach, which in a way defined social innovation as a product or as a service, instead of like looking at social innovation as a complete process that has like different stages, and then trying to measure it in just data and a number. Is really like a small perspective of how it could be in reality. Then why having a design perspective of evaluation? There's a need of design approach in terms of assessing the impact of interventions. Usually, as designers and design companies, we don't have a structured method of how to measure the impact that we are generating towards our products and services, and we end up in generating our own methodologies that usually are not very structured. So since the role of evaluation in design theory and practice has not been explored, at the end, it ended up in being like fragmented approaches on how to deal with evaluation from different perspectives of design, such as product design, service design, experience design, which at the end is not really organized and has like different approaches and is not understandable as a whole from the design community. So why design approach in measuring social impact is valuable? Because we as designers, we focus on understanding behaviors, human behaviors, and also we focus on the contextual factors that could be also be part of the context where the social innovation is developing. So it's important for us as designers to be also involved in this type of processes to really have like another perspective on the topic. Then the challenges so far in terms of Italian SMEs, as I was saying, there's a need to monitor, and they don't have right now, like the ways of doing so. In terms of social innovation measurement field, we need a redefinition in terms of changing from more quantitative approach to a more qualitative approach, in terms to take also into account the things inside those initiatives that cannot be easily quantified, and rather try to take it into account the ones that we can talk with the people and tackle in a more qualitative way. Then we need a robust approach to evaluation. As I was saying, we don't have a robust one, neither a clear one. Then in terms of creative participatory evaluation, we need the evaluation process to be more adaptable and flexible. Here I'm happy to cite you from Lancaster University, because it's one of the few examples that we have of groups that are dealing with evaluation, that are really exploring another perspective and proposing a new one in terms of design, also merging design and management perspectives in terms of having a more flexible and holistic way of measurement of evaluation and innovation processes and social innovation processes. So rather than having, this is something that I also highlight, rather than having just one approach, it's important to have evaluate or also take into account like different approaches that could have in terms of evaluation, and not just one single model to follow. The importance of creativity and participatory methods allow us to have a better reflection on initiatives and also address complex issues to understand in a more complete way the societal impact and the value that we can generate towards those initiatives. Then this is something that I did a lot when I was doing the literature review. There is those two specific topics that they usually mention when they are writing papers is the topics of measurement and also evaluation. Usually they use those terminologies in different contexts, and there's not like a specific clear approach of what they are referring to when they were mentioning those in many papers. So I wanted to take those and try to reflect on what they really mean and try to understand, at least from my perspective and my research in general. I wanted to see assessment as an initial part of the measurement approach and the judgment of a project outcome, and then evaluation more in terms of an ongoing process that is not only reflecting on the first outcome, but in general also try to measure the long-term process and the long-term outcomes that any initiative could have. And finally, Made in Italy and social businesses. I wanted here to explain that since I'm dealing with Made in Italy sector, we have 4 A's in Italy. They are dealing with the 4 main industries that we have in Italy, which are, I will say it in Italian, then I will translate it, is arredamento, abbigliamento, alimentazione e automotivo, which refer to furniture, fashion, food, and automotive. So what they are dealing with these 4 A's is trying to enhance the production process of those industries. However, if we are dealing with this topic of social innovation inside companies, I will say that the most promising one, even if the others are like very economically prosperous. I will say that food industry is the one that is linked the most with communities and traditions. For Italian community, traditions in terms of food is really important. So when they are dealing with this type of industries, they not only look at the economically advantages of their initiatives, but also how socially inclusive, how culturally pertinent to the region it could be. So in this term, generally the companies are paying more attention to the initiatives and the impact that they are generating and trying to involve the communities to generate more value behind the companies. And then, as I was saying, we need to create something that is more adaptable in terms of evaluation, more flexible, to create a framework as well that could guide us in a way of doing the evaluation process. Then this changing, at least from my research, I want to propose a change on the terminology of measurement to evaluation, and that the real terminology that we should be using is evaluation, that is in a way trying to tackle more aspects of what the process should be. And then the Made in Italy social businesses, which they are, they need to be like paying more attention to the evaluation, and also they are starting to be more compromised with the social initiatives that they are dealing with. So also to try to organize the process for them from a design perspective as well. So my research objective in general is to explore a design-led participatory and creative approach to evaluation of initiatives related to social innovation. And I divide the process of the PhD in mainly three stages, which is exploration, prototyping, and analysis. In the exploration phase, I wanted to search for the key elements of for the ongoing existing frameworks that are dealing with assessing of social innovation. Then in the prototyping, I wanted to search or merge like how these best practices from the transdisciplinary approaches that we already have, how we could be integrated in a design perspective to finally analyze how this design for social innovation evaluation could in a way be or enhance the actual process that we are having right now. Okay, this is the methodology that I wanted to apply, and the main research question that how can design drive like this approach to social innovation evaluation and supporting the transformation of companies to be more socially responsible in the Italian context. And as I was mentioning, it has like 3 stages, which it's mainly based on the literature review, on the case studies, then trying to work with companies with semi-structured interviews, So also take into account the observation and discussion with the leaders of those initiatives and of those companies to finally have that analysis and discussion. And okay, this is more or less like the process that I was having. So after the literature review, the initial one, I could say that the impact assessment strategies could be divided into three main groups, which are the cost-benefit analysis, the welfare indicators, and the capability approach. Being the cost-benefit analysis originated in the public sector, trying to assess the impact of the projects, then the welfare indicators will be mainly based on analysis of life satisfaction, and finally the capability approach as is focused on the evaluation of development of comparison and reduction effort, poverty reduction efforts. These are the main stages that I could identify when I was doing the literature review. However, when we talk about social innovation measurement, we can see that this is the thing that I also find in the literature review. There's many different terminology that they use. So at the end, when you search for social innovation measurement, you can find more than 100, I will say more than 1,000 different tools, methods, assessment, frameworks, etc. And then based on this, you can also filter the ones that they are applied into organizational environments or community environments because they change a lot. Because almost I can say that every time that they want to evaluate the impact that they are having, they in a way also develop their own. So for doing my research and facilitate my life in a way, I also try to filter the data type that they were using, also the tool type, because it has like many different tool types like scorecards, toolkits, diagrams, and then try to filter if they are they are being used in a business environment and if they are using in a social oriented organization, and then how complex is the application at the end, which usually tends to be very complicated and it takes a lot of time where at the end people is not involved. So when we go to design and evaluation and when we are dealing also with organizations, we can say that in design theory, evaluation is not really explored in the terms of seeing what is our impact, at least not from a literature review robustness point of view. So what we can say in design is that we have a way and we have different frameworks that help us to evaluate how beneficial, what is the value that we are bringing to an organization, which is completely different to my actual point of view in my research, but it's the thing that I found that is more developed from a design perspective. So in this case, we have the design ladder, the design management staircase, the design thinking impact, and design value scorecard, among the other 10 ones. But these are the most used in companies. Then, when we are talking about the company social impact, at least in Italy, and in terms of the network of universities that we have in Italy, usually there's many research groups that are dealing with companies, startups, and any venture in terms of companies that are dealing with trying to do reports of how beneficial or how successful are they being. So in this case, this is a diagram that was adapted from a research team that is Social Innovation Teams by Politecnico di Torino. And they every year release a report on the number of companies that are dealing with social innovation topics and environmental topics as well. So here we can see highlighted the regions in Italy that are dealing the most, and they have more companies dealing with this type of topics. And we can see that there are many. We can see that the northern part, which is located also the most industrial part, they are working like heavily on developing more ventures in terms of this topic, and in the center, while on the south is not really explored. Then also from the same reports that they are developing, we have a classification of how the companies are being categorized in terms of if they are profit-driven or social innovation-driven. So in this terminology, we have like also the traditional enterprises, the hybrid organizations, the non-profit or philanthropic entities, and it's like a clear differentiation of what are the companies looking. And then, since we already have everything organized, we just go for the ones and search in the directory, like the companies that are dealing with this type of topics that we want. So, taking into account this, I decided to work with B Corps in Italy, which they are already having, not only in Italy, all over the world, they're already having a process of evaluation in their own, since they have to report their findings, not only in social aspects, but also environmental. And then take into a look about the companies in those regions that were already highlighted, the ones that are working towards the topic that I wanted, that was inside the food industry, in the manufacturing sector. Then at the end were 11, which one of them is highlighted because it's not really from Italy, it's actually from London, but they are using the Made in Italy sector as the way of promoting their products, which is Crosta Molica. And in my period here, I also wanted to contact them. But the other ones are focused on the Italian business sector, and they are divided in the regions that I already highlighted before. So here I just mentioned some changes that I did during my research, which at the end, since I come from a PhD in design and trying to craft something on our own when there's no many research about it, is not easily acceptable from an academia point of view. So what I wanted to do at the very beginning was trying to merge, since we already have identified the areas, the indicators that more than 100 tools use. I just wanted to merge the ones that are dealing most with the topic that I wanted to cover, and then in the industry that I wanted to cover, with a design tool that is looking in a way not directly the social innovation evaluation, but the design evaluation perspective that they already have. And since this is not something that has been explored, it's really to propose it from scratch. So I just changed the direction in this term. And then from a secondary literature review, I just understand that, okay, since I already mapped all well, not all, but most of the tools that are assessing the social innovation impact, I just wanted to divide it into layers of purposes, time frame, orientation, length, time frame, perspective, approach, in terms to use it and highlight the 30 that are being the most used inside companies, at least in the Italian sector, with also merging the relevant cases in terms of design evaluation that are also being used in Italy, to finally also go for the relevant cases in terms of participatory approach. So from this, I really benefit from working with the Lancaster Evaluation Group, because they already map all of these approaches in terms of participatory and creative approach to evaluation. So in a way, I wanted to merge the three of them, trying to also map the relevant process, taking into coming from those spheres. So the relevant process from evaluating the social value, or the relevant process when dealing with creative and participatory evaluation, and finally the relevant process when supporting creative and participatory evaluation from a design for social innovation perspective, and what they were favoring inside companies. So from these three layers, we can propose something different that is not based in my own thinking, but also understanding the process from other relevant cases that are being adopted inside an organizational sphere, and especially in the Italian context. So from this, I try to propose, that is something that is still in developing, and as a framework for evaluation that in a way could help the design perspective to be more organized in terms of the steps that we should be carrying on when we are dealing with a company that is at the same time trying to enhance their impact when they have a small social innovation initiative with a community. So with this, I propose like 6 different stages, which I won't go deeper on because it has like many different applications. So it's mainly about the exploratory mapping, which at the end will have their own indicators and the evidence collection with the methods that we will be applying with the companies. The strategic co-design, where they want to go deeper on those already existing initiatives to try to enhance them. The change activation, where we were dealing with pilots and trying to, in a way, trying to evaluate the social change is really difficult because we need a lot of time. However, if we can do a pilot, we can even see small changes from a small, for a short-term point of view. So this is just a way of trying to see if there's a small change in a short period of time. Then if we are going to analyze it in more years, probably the change could be also higher, greater. Then the midterm impact monitoring, where we will be monitoring the changes over time. And then finally, no, not finally, but almost finalizing, the sustainability check and scaling. Like most of the perspective that the companies usually have is to have this sustainability in terms of keep on going, keep on having this impact, but also trying to scale and not going directly only on the company, but also trying to associate the company with others that are maybe dealing with the same topic or even governmental level. And then finally, the learning and reflection, which is very important because in terms of evaluation, since the people that is involved in terms of company perspective is not really understanding, or not of them are really understanding the process, this reflection is important to all of us, all the workers be on the same page and trying to understand and also communicate the findings and try to adopt an evaluation culture from an organizational point of view. And this is the same. And then, okay, from this is very short, but I just developed some prototypes in terms of structured interviews and workshops for monitoring, evaluation, and sustainability. These are just some scratches of how it was done. And then conclusions is mainly about the shift that we need to have towards more qualitative measures for the reasons that I was also talking about before. We need to understand social innovation not only as a number or as a percentage, but also how we are really impacting. And for this, we need to be with the people and really dealing with talking and involving the people inside those processes. Then the iterative assessment and evaluation is not a one-time process. It's something that should be involved and inserted in the organizational process and the way of doing things. And then how designers can drive change beyond the areas that we usually work on, like involving designers in new areas like evaluation or others. It's important for the discipline to be like greater and also explore like our capabilities in those terms. And finally, okay, this is just a call. If someone is interested in collaborating, I'm working right now in this project. However, I am also involved in two others, which is directly involved with my home university, which is in Colombia, with ex-combatant communities, vulnerable communities, and post-conflict communities in terms of tourism and also food for reconciliation, which is trying to assess and trying to look at those initiatives in order to find a reconciliation with the territory. So this is another topic, but it's very interesting. And thank you very much for your attention.